Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning, self-storage industry, and welcome back to the SBOA Self-Storage Unlocked. We have a great episode for you today. Today, we're talking all about lease-up struggles and how you can combat them. So funny, I was at the FSSA Lunch and Learn yesterday, and one of the audience members asked this question. I said, well, coincidentally enough, we have a webinar coming to you tomorrow about this topic. So super excited about this one, very relevant topic with what's going on in today's climate and environment out there. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jessica Johnson. I'm the Vice President of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA by many in the industry. And we do this twice a month, sometimes 3 a month. It's free education for anyone and everyone out there in self-storage or looking to get into self-storage. And as you saw by that last video, we do have an educational program for newer owners and operators in the space, or ones that are looking to grow and scale their portfolios in a proper manner. So we'd love for you to check that out. And before we get started today, a couple quick housekeeping items. I see lots of you are already commenting in the comment section. We love that. This is virtual, y'all, so it's really hard to stay engaged in the virtual space. So the more you can comment and chat with us, the better this is. Please ask us questions. We have great speakers here today that have tons of experience. So while we have them live, please ask those live questions. We also ask poll questions throughout in the chat area. If you could just take a quick second and respond to those poll questions, it really just helps us to get to know you better. And I want to give a huge shout out to the companies that helped us to put this on today. Without those companies and these different speakers that we bring in, we couldn't do these events with the frequency that we do. So big shout out to Absolute Storage Management, XPS Solutions, BlinkSigns and Swag, and CallPotential. I'm going to go ahead and get started and get introducing our speakers for today. And first up, I have Grace Totty with ASM coming up. Hey, Grace.
Good morning. How are you, Jess?
I'm good, Grace. I've had enough coffee today. I'm feeling good.
Good.
Grace, tell us about you and ASM.
I'm happy to. Hello, everyone. As Jess said, this is a virtual world, so thanks for all of your comments already. Good to see a couple faces that I recognize and hope to meet the ones I don't know My name is Grace Totty. I work for Absolute Storage Management. We're one of the private third-party management providers in the self-storage industry. We are very, very close to 150 stores. That'll be a milestone we are excited to celebrate and should hit it sometime in August. So that's exciting. We are in 19 states, primarily the Southeast and Midwestern states of the U.S., but here recently branched out into the West. We're now in Colorado and Arizona as well. So I'm excited to be here and share kind of my marketing experience with you all and the listeners. And so thanks, Jess, for putting this together.
Of course. Happy to have you here as always. Grace has so much knowledge. I love when she does these with us. It makes it so much easier for me. So awesome. Well, up next, I have Scott Worden. And for those of you in the industry that want a secret, you can call him Scotty Too Hottie like I do from CallPotential. Scott, tell us about you and CallPotential.
Well, thanks, Dolly. So we've got some secret names here, I guess. I'm Scott Worden. I'm with CallPotential. So I've been in the industry for almost 10 years now, and I've been with CallPotential for a little over 4 years. We specialize in lead management, making sure we get those leads closed, and also automating your collections. And then we are the kind of the infrastructure for a lot of the the call center or doing your in-house call routing and call center services.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Scott, and I really appreciate your time with us today. Next up, I have Shannon from XPS. Shannon.
Good morning. So my name is Shannon Charbonneau with XPS Solutions, and I have been with the company for about 12 years now. And that was my first foray into self-storage in general. So I have had the opportunity just to learn from the ground up everything about self-storage. And I have said before and will continue to say that I love this industry. I came out of high-level security, and this is a very different place to be. And just the fact that you have content like this that's available out to people who are just looking to learn more, that's the kind of place that I want to be. So
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So
I appreciate that because we are very big on education here at the SBOA. I follow lots of the different Facebook groups and I see a lot of misinformation being given out there. So that's another reason why we do this. We do this to safeguard and help protect the industry and the owners and operators out there.
Yes, ma'am. So XPS, let me tell you a little bit about us really quick. So XPS is a third-party call center in the self-storage space. That's our core business. That's all we do. And so we have an entire team of people who's dedicated just to helping you make sure that you do capitalize on every opportunity.
And hey, can't do any better than that, right?
Correct. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. And last up, I have Stephen Weber from BlinkSigns. If you guys need signage, this is your guy. Stephen, tell me about you and Blink.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Steve Weber with BlinkSigns. I've been a part of the Blink team for 6 years, going on 7 now. And we work a lot within the self-storage industry to help you with both your exterior signage, your interior signage. We also have an entire division based for print, apparel, and promo. So really helping you get your branding out there from the exterior of your building all the way on the inside. So really excited to talk more about how signage can impact with leasing up.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. All right, let's get all of my fantastic speakers back up on screen and we're just going to dig in here. So Scott mentioned this. Scott and I were both at the California Owner Summit last week. There's my brochure from it. And Joe Russell from Public Storage was one of the keynotes, and he made this comment. Their strategy is pretty darn simple with lease up hard and lease up fast, right? So that's what we want to do. But I'm going to start with just some basic questions here for the audience out there. What are some of the common challenges that self-storage facilities face during a lease up phase?
I'll kick us off with some answers, or at least get this part of the conversation going. I think some of the common struggles that we see in our lease-up properties, especially now, kind of this year compared to previous years, are marketing and visibility. And so I will too echo what Jess said about the BlinkSign crew. We have used them consistently, but here, especially recently, getting more perspective and brain power on what is needed for some of our properties to get higher, bigger, brighter signage. So that's definitely a struggle for our properties. And then as well as tenant acquisition, I think Scott and Shannon could talk a lot about that piece of the struggle. And then pricing strategy as well. The industry's got value-based pricing. We've got web rates, slash-through rates, in-store rates, discounts, coupons, ongoing, temporary, all these different options. And so having a strategy or being able to be nimble even with your strategy, those to me are some of the big common challenges. And then you're always going to deal with just where's the location, like just the physical, are you on the street? Are you back in a warehouse district? Like that physical piece of the facility itself sometimes can't be avoided, but it can be a challenge to work through.
Sure. Anyone else have any points they want to bring up on some common challenges that happen during lease-up?
Well, I mean, I would say that, we'll talk more about this, about the marketing spend, driving traffic, drive the call, get people to your facility, whether it's through the phone or in person, but then have the ability to make sure that you're closing. So one thing that we have seen is when a deal's not closed at that point in time, the follow-up piece has been a missing link. And sometimes we have to go back to the basics. And we've been hearing this more and more about getting more of a kind of that sales process and making sure there's a great follow-up plan. And so we're seeing that just some of those simple things can increase your occupancy just by doing the follow-up.
So Scott, since you're bringing up the follow-up, I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. Give us some of those stats that you shared the other day when we did the call about follow-up.
Yeah, so there's pretty eye-opening stats. And we did a study that we were placing at the location. So calling the locations to see how well they actually did the follow-up. And we did 1,000 locations. There was only 7% actually followed up. So we had 7% followed up, and then we had 2% followed up twice. So you can see the opportunities there. We talked at the beginning of the call, the opportunities are just getting missed. We're spending so much money to drive traffic. We're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump on that too and say, one of the challenges is to have that call be missed in the first place, right? Like if you have spent all that money, we all know by the time a call comes in, you have already spent $100 on that person, right? So if that call does not get answered or goes to a voicemail, that's going to be responded to the next day. And that's in a best case scenario, because in real life, if people are looking to rent storage, they're probably not going to leave a message. They're just going to hang up and call the next one down the list, right? Yeah. So we all wish that if you Google self-storage in my area, you would be literally the only one that shows up. In the best case scenario, you're at the top of the list. In the real world, you're probably 2 or 3 because Public and Extra paid to be at the top, right? So if you have gotten a call, oh my gravy, please take it.
Well, and too, this is a very needs-based business, and sometimes it's a last-minute need. Someone might be displaced, moving, didn't even think like, oh, I need storage. They want it immediately. So if you miss that call, they're going to your competitor, hands down. Like they're not calling back most likely. So you got to get them while they're there, right? And you got to get them quick.
Yeah. And some of that, Scott, I wonder if it's a system that's broken too. Like our property team members, or if you're running unstaffed, like whoever is managing kind of the operations of the facility, they've got collections that they need to call on. They've got auctions they've got to process. They've got payments that they need to log. Leads is not typically the only thing that either, again, a remote manager or the property manager on staff is doing. And so making sure as the owner and the operator, making sure that when a lead comes in, that phone is fully charged and rings really loudly and easily accepted or easily transferred to a cell phone if they're out on the property, or to a sales center or rollover calls. But also the follow-up, because your stats were all about follow-ups. And I got to tell you, my jaw dropped when on our planning call, you shared that. I was like, let me check our systems. So making sure that like it's an email and a ding. And as the operator, like you're getting reports that say like missed calls or non calls that haven't been followed up with. Like you've got to have the structure in place for the team on site to succeed. And so as operators, I hope one of your takeaways is just to figure out what is our leads follow up and how are we keeping the team accountable or notifying them of it. I think that's a nugget that let's just be reminded of the importance of processes and alerts.
Well, just get it in the, put the lead in the system.
Amen, Scott. Amen.
So, if somebody's calling and whether they're kicking the tires or not, hey, I just want to know a price of a 10 by 10. Yep. Ding, 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 lights go off. You need to put this in the system.
Yeah, even if you're calling for pricing, I want that call logged in my system. We use DoorSwap as our point of sale system. They've got a reservation or leads widget to them. I want that pricing call logged, because I don't care if they were a random secret shopper or an actual person that's calling for a quote. Call them again. Like if they got a different quote that they preferred, like let's offer price matching. Like let's be their pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and Grace, like you just mentioned secret shoppers. So the SBOA offers a mystery shop program, and what we are consistently finding when we do mystery shop, specifically, phone shops, not in person, the team member is not getting the basic fundamental items needed to follow up, meaning name, phone number, and email. If I'm reviewing a call and my team member does not get name, phone number, and email consistently, they probably aren't going to have a job with me much longer. I mean, like those are critical pieces. We were even talking about some staff members saying that they don't feel comfortable asking for an email. Even if they give you a fictitious email, at least ask for the email. Like we need some mechanisms, because this can create all types of different workflows, like you were just talking to, and processes on the back end to keep that lead flow system going so they don't fall through the cracks. As Shannon said, you're spending a lot of money to try to acquire them. Well, here they are, and then you drop the ball. Like so much money left on the table when you do that.
And getting it in there, Scott, you are so correct. But I'm going to also say the next step of that is if they call back, you want to know they called previously, right? But we tell our team, if they are still calling, they are still shopping, my friend. So we are still treating that as a brand new sales opportunity every single time. And you have to, right? And going back to your original question, what are some common challenges? One of the things that we see when we're talking, especially with new owners and they have new facilities in this brand new lease-up process, is there's a little panic, right? Like there's a lot of pressure on a brand new facility owner who just laid out probably more cash than they actually have on this brand new facility. And if you are a month down the road and you're not quite where you thought you were going to be, these are challenges that are common, but they're doable, right? There's things that you can do to overcome some of them.
Yeah. And to chime in there from the signage end, what I'm seeing is, across all industries that I work in, whether it be retail or restaurants or self-storage, signage is always kind of the last thing to kind of be talked about or implemented. And, if there's so many creative ways to engage before, if, for instance, if it's a new build or you're swapping out from another type of business, you have that opportunity to either put up banners, get signage up early, and really start marketing yourself that, hey, we're coming. Let's talk about getting you ready to go early. So like, yeah, you're a month or two before opening, but you've got your signage there and you're locked and loaded, or you've got some banners or things of that nature. There's a lot of creative ways, and not all of it's very expensive, where you can really leverage your brand and start moving to get these leases up early. But, with permitting, with manufacturing timelines, that stuff all adds up. So it's really important that at least you have those conversations with whoever you're using for signage early enough that you can kind of prepare for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just on the signage note, I'm here in Destin this week for work. Now my eyes, I always see self-storage facilities, right? I'm in the industry, so I'm going to notice them. And I caught one out of my peripheral, and I noticed the logo, and I knew immediately who it was. But the signage was like on the smaller side, and that could be because of the municipality, maybe it had to be a certain size, but it wasn't placed well. It was small, and man, you could drive right by and miss that sign. So I was like, I want to know why that sign was the way it was, because for me, if it could have been different, I think it should have been bigger and more prominently placed. But again, that could be a variance that I don't know of. But
of course, it wasn't Steven's sign. So if it was Steven's sign,
no, honestly,
I'm not getting tarred and feathered after this call.
there are all those instances, but it brings up a good point. Like, you should at least ask the question, right? Like, a lot of times where I'm talking to people, whether they're taking over an existing or adding to whether it be like an old Kmart or something like that, at least look in your municipality and see, like, all right, I really don't like where this sign is. What could be done, if anything, because it doesn't make sense here. Maybe the old owner just didn't really do the due diligence needed or city codes change more than in some ways I'd like them to. So like, have those discussions, or have your signage company do that, just so you know for sure, like, hey, well, nope, this can't be any bigger. Nope, this can't be moved because it's technically on our property, and the other owner, or be creative and maybe work with the other owner. Maybe you can have some deal where you both add signage to a location. If you're not in a great location, where you can say, hey, owner of gas station on the prime corner here next to a highway, can we do something where I have a tenant panel on your business and I pay rent on it? So there's creative solutions to all this, but it's just important that you evaluate those as you're going through the process, because like someone said earlier, you're not always in that ideal location, but don't leave any stone unturned, if at least from the signage end, I would say.
Yeah. Now, Steve, do you guys with the signage recommend that an owner operator try to get as much as they can on that signage, meaning website, phone number? So maybe somebody could, as they're going by, or do you kind of leave that for they see the brand and then hope that they go to the website to figure out those other elements?
Yeah, that's something that's kind of evolving for us over time. And based on my experience with, all the signage, the self-storage that we've used, I think it's really important that first and foremost, like, your branding, your name and self-storage are the most prominent things, because from there, just with the way at least I act, and a lot of the people, and because I could probably speak for all of us here, like, once we see that brand name, we're Googling it and we're pretty much getting it. So phone number, for me, that's hard. I feel like you could allocate that square footage allowance to more important things, like if you want to say climate controlled or things of that nature. So Gotcha. Email address is the same thing. I don't know. I feel like once I want to know that self-storage, and I want to know your brand, what brand you are. And from there, thanks to the iPhone, it takes it away from there. And we're going to either signing up virtually online, or we're going to go into the location ourselves.
Yeah. I saw a location here the other day too. It was someone's first and last name, self-storage. I'm like, well, I hope that guy's famous, because that to me, like,
yeah. And to add to that too,
want to rent from him, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, just like really being, if you're building your brand out, really be cognizant of your logo and your name, and like how that all ties into visibility, right? Because sometimes I talk with clients, I have this amazing logo and it's got, 15, 20 word or letters. And it's like, you want something short and to the point, and you want to make sure that you're doing what you want, which is like, hey, I want people to know it's self-storage. I don't want to be tied to this giant logo that's taking up a majority of the square footage allowance that I'm having, and now I have this little tiny sign that you're like squinting to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And again, like the likelihood of somebody like remembering the phone number, the website address
Yeah.
if they drive by, and like it's probably not safe to try to snap a photo of it, like
Exactly.
I said earlier, but go to the
Yeah.
website and figure it out.
Mhm.
And then I have two questions from the audience, real quick. One that pertains to signage. Would you advise using QR codes? I'm going to say yes on certain signage, not like
Yes.
marquee signage, obviously. But
Agreed.
anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
The
definitely on
QR
QR
codes are
codes.
not dead, by the way. I'm sorry,
So-
anyone out there that says they are.
Yeah,
You're
agreed.
I don't think they're dying post. I think COVID gave them this new life,
It
and
was
they will.
awesome.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
here to stay.
Yeah.
But I agree with your sentiment, Jessica. Like, don't put it on your tall pylon sign, marquee sign, monument sign like that, because we don't want to encourage people to use their phone in
Trash.
motion. And it's just not going to be. It's not going to be like helpful. But definitely on like door signs.
Store
gate-
hours is a big thing now. We have a large
Oh,
retail brand that literally has transferred over all of their store hours because, those change over time. So now instead they don't have to go and swap out their store hours showing what the times are. Now it's just a QR code and they can edit it from the back end. So
Love it.
definitely is here to stay. I agree. And just find creative ways that, now you can save. I mean, that's thousands of dollars that are saved over time.
Yeah. And can I give a quick pro tip on store hours? Please, if you change your location operating hours and you're remote now, maybe, and you've got limited office hours or whatever the scenario is, put that in your Google business profile. Through COVID, I almost lost my mind. I went to several different retailers that said that they were open till like 9 or 10, pulled up at 8 o'clock at night. They were closed because they did not update Google. And it's very frustrating for a consumer when you have that anticipation and intention to go visit and they're closed, right? So
The paper note they put on the door didn't do that for you, Jen?
I can't see my hand in front of my face. So I surely couldn't see the paper in my car. So and then I'm going to ask this question, and I'll ask this to Scott and Shannon. Do you automatically register their phone number so you can call them at a later stage?
Absolutely. So one of the nice things about the technology is to basically have a tracking line. So even if you did have a phone number that's associated with that sign out front, 9 times out of 10, they're driving by, Googling your name, and then clicking on your paid ad. So we can track that. We could identify the location. We can identify that marketing source, but then also be able to retain the caller ID, the phone number. And if we know that phone number is in the record of that property management software, we can also identify the individual. So there's a lot of great tech out there. And Shannon, do you want to add some other things there?
I do. I mean, first of all, I would say get that phone number early. Anybody who's building your website will want to provide that for you. It's going to be part of that package. But don't worry that you don't have anybody to answer it yet or whatever. Just get a message out there. This is one time where I'm going to say it's okay if you've just broken ground to go to voicemail, right? Nobody is expecting to be able to rent this afternoon. So you can leave a message and that's fine. But you want to start tracking that interest. You want to start paying attention to who those are. And you want to be sure you're using the number that's going to stay the number. I've actually worked with people who are like, oh, well, I just put a sign on the gate with my cell phone number and about have a heart attack because no one will ever lose that number. Trust me, you will be in their phone forever. So get that number, get that set up. Go ahead and let it go to messages, get that to you. If you're using a third party, there are all sorts of things that you can do from an automated basis. You can say, if you want to get on a pre-lease, schedule, or if you need to speak, if you're a vendor, let's just say you want to be a vendor for us. Let's get you through to the right person. You can use those automated systems for all of that. And you're getting, like Scott said, tracking all of that information. How many calls are being generated? What are they being generated for? And then when you are closer, let's just say you're now a month out from your certificate of occupancy. Now you can start actually reaching out to those people or change the plan that you have for incoming calls to say, great, we're looking at renting on August 15th. That's our grand opening weekend. Can I put you down? Let me get you rented up right now so you can move in day one.
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, and like if you don't have the call tracking source and you're going maybe a little bit more old school, I would have that. I would train my staff to say from the beginning, let me get your name and phone number in case we get disconnected. I would have them lead with that in the call and then start talking the different nuances, unit size, what you're storing, et cetera. We've got a good question here, and I see that Grace answered it. We're only on the first question, and we.
I know, this is a great topic. Obviously,
it's
we're
a
right
very
in the middle of leasing season.
Yeah, I'm going to put this one out there. This is a big one. So VoIP versus cell phone that would get forwarded to a third party. Nervous about VoIP phone number. Scott, Shannon, Grace. I know y'all. Grace, you kind of answered it, so.
Well, we recently transferred over to VoIP. We went from landlines to VoIP numbers, and it's just been allowed us more flexibility, allowed us a little bit more autonomy too. There's not a fear of like, where is this cell phone? Like that doesn't walk away. The VoIP number can also be forwarded easier. So it's been a new change for us. And I think it is something we put off for a long time, kind of the fear of unknown. We were very used to either landlines or subsequent cell phone numbers. And it's been super helpful. Scott and Shannon have a lot more experience with it than I do, though.
Yeah, highly recommend. From a control perspective, if you want any ability to say what time of day that phone rings, where it goes, if you don't answer, voice over IP is absolutely the way to go. There are some that are easier to work with than others, as with any industry. But your question specifically, I see that you have some fear about if you decide you don't like that voice over IP provider and you don't want to lose your phone number. 100% get that. What you do in that case, it's called a port. Essentially, you just port that number to another provider. And we've all done it where we've walked into the Verizon store and said, I have an AT&T account, I want a Verizon account, and here's my phone number. Unfortunately, with business lines, it takes a little bit longer than that standing in the AT&T store situation, but it absolutely can be done. But plan ahead. If you're in a situation where you're going to do that, give it 30 days and you'll be okay.
Yeah, awesome. I think Scott put something in the chat. Scott, do you want to tell us what that speedtest.net is?
Yeah, so really just make sure that your area can support it. And it really is because VoIP is through the internet. Just make sure that your area has good internet, that the speed kind of matches. I put some kind of speed requirements that we like to see as far as like if they're considering VoIP. The VoIP quality in recent years has been tremendous. So if it does support it, it definitely gives you a lot more options for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Question 2. Woo, that
This is a 2-hour segment, right?
Stay tuned for part 2 next month.
And so listen, in all honesty too, and I want our audience to know this, my intention with some of these can go way longer than an hour. So we're going to do some mini summit type ones that may go for like 2 or 3 hours on some of these particular topics because they are so critical and they are so relevant. This one's probably going to be one that we regurgitate here in the next few months. But anyway, so we talked about the common challenges. So what can I do to overcome these lease-up challenges? And Grace, I'm going to push this to you first because we had some alarming stats shared in this outline call we did the other day. So your discounts year over year right now are up 62%. Talk the audience through discounts and concessions as it relates to Lease-Up and why you guys have had such an increase lately.
Yeah, so that stat I shared is with our same store set, which lease-ups for our calculations are not a part of the same store set. So that's just really an indicator of kind of the industry, what's going on. And it's because GPIs were really, really high last year, and we're all seeing them as operators. It's lower this year than it was last year. Our street rate, or what your GPI is about 10% lower this year than last year. And so we are having to discount more to keep some of those higher street rates and then still win over that lead. And so, yeah, we're discounting a lot more right now just to capture the lead, retraining our team that like, yes, we will price match, sharing them. We try to empower our team members on site. We run 98% of our facilities are manned locations. That 2% that are unmanned are more traditionally like a hub and spoke model. And so we put a lot of focus onto our team on site. If somebody walks in that door or calls you directly, they don't get rolled over to our sales center, then we need you to be empowered to convert them into a rental. Like, what do you who are having that conversation, offer price matching, offer this discount if it's needed, offer an additional $10 off, or waive the admin fee. So that training has been really important, and is how you can overcome some of these lease-up struggles. Like a strong team member on site we believe is so helpful and so powerful. And then just being aware of what your competitors are doing too. And so, I mean, I just said it, absolute facilities are price matching. So if you compete with us, you might have to start doing that too, just because you have to stay relevant. And so I think as far as discounts and concessions, it's important to know what your competitors are doing too.
Yeah.
We're just in a different year. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Occupancy's dropping, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Normal times. Those that came in during COVID, you had a fun ride. Now here comes reality, right?
Well,
I mean,
that's what we say is we're kind of back to normal, right? Like
normal.
This is not panic mode. This is really kind of standard business, but the last couple of years have just been so exciting, right? We have a sales team. We call them the Sharks. Don't tell anybody. But we have had to train them in the past. You know, this time last year, we were having conversations with our sales team that sounded like this. When you get in there and they have no units available to sell, here's what you say, right? This year, that conversation sounds like, so get him to say, get him to rent right now. So it's a very different conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fishing is a lot easier when people are just jumping in the boat, as opposed to you're actually having to go out and find those. And Grace spoke a lot about that the other day, just getting those leads, right? And then Scott talking about following up on those leads. They just are so much more. I mean, I hate to say that the people are more important than they were a year ago, but when last year you were literally beating people off with a stick because you just don't have any more of the size they need, it's a very different world right now.
Yeah. I think too, like the placement of where you're putting your promotions is impactful too. Like, is it on your website? How often is it on your website? Is it mentioned during the sales? Like if you offer online rentals, are you mentioning it through those different steps? Mm-hmm. We even for most of our, if not all of our lease-up properties, we are using paid advertisement as well. So not just leaning on your organic placements on the web, mm-hmm. but also paying for additional placements and Spare Foot, PPC, search. Those are kind of the two. We always use those, or again, I say always, most of the time we're using those for lease-up properties. And so Cube, I found this out yesterday. Cube is spending about $3,400 a month on their pay-per-click ads per property. And so if you're trying to compete with that, that means your ad is right next to their ad. Everything that you can change on your ad to help drive that click for your ad instead of their ad, or Extra Space, Public, all these other companies. We started off with Public Storage has that, what'd you say, lease up hard, lease up fast?
Yeah.
$1 first month move in.
They have really deep pockets. And so they can sustain that and kind of have that method. And our operators choose to be a little bit more strategic with their expenses. And so the only way to compete with that mentality or compete with this Cube Smart budget is to be strategic. And so if you have a coupon, that coupon needs to be in your copy on your paid ads. Like, they need to see not just the branding, because that helps. Like when they drove by, saw Steven's sign, like the branding is a part of getting this lead, but also standing out and having that differential, being different, being attractive is part of getting that lead too.
Yeah. So I'd like to also add that, even though we're getting back to that cycle that we consider kind of your traditional storage cycle, we're still seeing record levels of the length of stay. So what that means is, again, every missed opportunity is really costing you a lot more money. The unit price times the length of stay, that's really how you should be calculating what am I missing. So if Cube is spending, over $3,000 a month on their paid advertising, they've already calculated, hey, we're going to get this X more. So think of it in those levels in your market.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree with that. Grace, talk to me real quick. One last thing about you guys are in your sales process saying that you're going to give them a guaranteed rate for a certain period of time to kind of ease their mind. Like, I'm not going to move in and 3 months down the road, you're going to jack my rate out of whack. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So we are using Veritech as our
Rev management.
Yes, but specifically about tenant rate increases as well. And so our properties are pretty structured because we have that system in place. And so each property has a set, like they know our property team member is a part of this onboarding. They're very aware of when their rate increases happen. So they know if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12, they know what their property is set up for. And so part of the conversation is like, we will price match and I guarantee I won't raise your rate for 6 months. So ask that question to your competitors. Or a lot of times, like we also are friends with the other properties nearby. Like our property manager knows their property manager too. And so they know what the other company's doing just because of the conversation.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about competition. The markets are getting more competitive, more crowded. So how do you make your property stand out from your competition? And how do you stay in tune with what your competition is doing?
I think professional photos have got to be top on the list because now a lot of the initial research is happening online. Like we all are Googling the property or Googling storage and then looking at those top 3 placements before we start calling. And year after year after year, like ISS and SSA put out data that says people are choosing you because of security. And a lot of times we look at security. Do you have a gate? Do you have cameras? Do you have lighting? But also there's a cleanliness that comes along with security. And there's this degree of professionalism that comes along with security. And so I really think that professional photos has been something that owners have had to, like, we've been able to get away from because iPhones are high quality and we can do enough to get good looking pictures, but there's a clear difference. If you're at property pages, there's a clear difference in professional photos and not professional photos. Okay. So I think that is just something that's so easy to do. $500 will get you a ton of professional photos. It'll get you the 360 tour of your property too. So you can put that in welcome emails, like online renters who have never been at your property, send them that 360 tour so they know what to expect, or put it on your Google listing to help your Google listing like stand out and look better. So I think that's definitely a part of what we're trying to do is push for those professional photos. But then also I think like optimizing your listing is going to be really important. Your Google listing, your Yelp listing, your Bing listing, Apple Maps listing, all these places, once you have your professional photos, make sure they're in those locations and that pin is in the right spot. And Google is putting more emphasis on your service areas too. So go into that dashboard, put the little neighborhoods that you're nearby, put those cities, put those landmarks. All of that can now be in your Google listing. And so making sure that that's up to date.
And go ahead, Grace. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, like, the things that you can do to improve kind of advertising and marketing is to use a professional to manage those ads. Everybody is spending more now than they did last year, now than they did the year before. So, and I mean everybody, like small operators, REITs. And so your leg up is going to be to have a professional manage it. Not just a college intern, not just somebody who has done this before. Like, just make sure that your KPIs or like your impression shares, you want them up. You want your clicks up. You want, even if you're spending more, you want those other metrics to be greater. Like, we're spending 70% more on PPC this year than last year, but our impressions are almost double. Our clicks are almost 3 times as much. Like, you want if you're spending more, you want to be getting a lot more.
I'm glad you brought that up, that you're analyzing that, right? You're not just like dumping money and saying a prayer to God that, okay, I hope this works, right? You're pivoting if it's not working.
Yeah. Well, I need Shannon and Scott to tell me, like, I'm spending more on ads. Am I converting more? Like, I can see I'm driving more leads, but are they high quality leads? Because there's a relationship there. If the ads sending junk traffic to your website and it's not converting into a rental,
right,
but you got to change the ad.
Right.
But also just knowing the type of calls. So sales calls, but also you got the service calls, like we were talking about at the beginning. Like, how can we reduce those white noise calls, or be able to just make sure that we can automate those other pieces?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, and to your point earlier, Scott, where you were talking about the length of stay being extended, right? One of the reasons for the length of stay to be extended is because you make it easy for people to rent with you, right? I guarantee you, if you are never open and you never return calls and your place is a mess and the security is wonky, your average length of stay is not higher. But if you take care of those security issues and those cleanliness issues and have a professionally managed property, whether that's on-site or off-site, it doesn't matter. Just be professionally managed. Answer the phone when it rings. Help people when they call. We know, and I mean, I can tell you just stats after stats after stats, 80% of the calls that we get are what we call non-prospect. They're not sales opportunities. They are, I forgot my gate code. How much is my bill? I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Like, all of those phone calls, we get so many of, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to pay you on Friday. I'm going to get my mom's credit card. And, there are so many of those, but handling those well is what helps you keep that average length of stay going up, which is so much less expensive than getting new clients all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you brought up the collection piece, Shannon. What we try to train is, if you're in that point where you're making collection calls and you're getting those, like, I'll pay it Friday. Yes, get a definitive date and time that you should be expected to be paid. Track that in your system. So when Friday comes and you still aren't paid, you're triggering another email, phone call, text message, whatever it may be, to collect those dollars. And when you don't collect those dollars for long enough, start the proper lien process and all of the things that you need to do. Let's talk about, I think we're seeing some more traditional seasonality come back now as well. So how does seasonality impact Lease-Up?
Well, I mean, in the years past, it absolutely has, but I can tell you from our perspective that this July should be the highest. And this July, I don't think it's going to be the highest. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go into the fall. But, volume wise, I don't see it as being high. But again, we're comparing it to 2022, 2021, and those were just crazy, crazy high. So, kind of going back to normal. But Grace, I mean, with all of your stores, you have to have an idea of how's that looking seasonality wise for you.
Yeah, I am so ADHD right now. I'm trying to answer some of these questions in the comments and participate here. The seasonality, I mean, yes, it changes. I think seasonality for us right now, when it comes to lease-up properties, we are seeing more of like on average, a 3 to 5% lease up or absorption rate. But the seasonality, it means that in the summer months, it's going to be closer to maybe 7 or 8%. And then in the colder months, it's going to be closer to 1 or 2. And so if you're trying to track your performance, I would look at how are you doing, like trending, not just month at a time, because it is different. I look at a search volume, like interest, Google interest in storage and these storage related keywords, because that's a pretty good indicator of like how many people are looking for our products and how many like overall traffic, because there's more competition in the area. So this, is it the same amount of traffic and we're all competing for this traffic, or is it reduced? Right now it's reduced traffic. So I'm looking at like how much search volume is happening compared to last year, but then also each month, let's look at that trend. And Shannon's right. July historically has been a peak month. If the trend continues, everything is happening a month later. So August, I would expect, would be a higher volume, a higher call volume month for operators. But everything has just kind of been like, it's almost like literally 30 days delayed. Last year, we had peaks in April and July. This year, that peak didn't happen in April. It kind of happened in May. And so we anticipate a peak to be in August for us.
Got it. And I just put up on screen Crystal's question. I'm sorry, Allison's question about what pay-per-click services they're using, or do you suggest they use? They're using Thrive, which I think is formerly the company called Vivial, because we used to work with them as well. Any suggestions there outside of Google, Grace? I know Crystal said she's doing something on Facebook. Facebook ads, we know, don't typically render a ton of rentals. What was yours from social media, Grace? Like you get like a 2% conversion on social?
Yeah, if that. I think, we were seeing kind of like less than 1% actual conversions, which for lease-up properties, there's different like strategies to use for different marketing campaigns, and everything has value. We focus on like the highest return on investment, which is going to be your square foot, your PPC search, your display ads. So we make sure that we're kind of maxing out those budgets. If you still have budgets, then adding a Facebook campaign. We're using boosted posts right now. It seems to have a little bit more, it drives a little bit more traffic to the site. It's a little bit it's a little bit more qualified traffic. So we're doing boosted posts as opposed to standard Facebook ads. But those are like what I call awareness. So it's super helpful to drive awareness to your property, especially, again, lease up. You're probably new to the area. Folks don't know your brand. They don't know your product. They don't know your location. And so we will use Facebook boosted posts. We've done Spotify ads, can be helpful. We've run some Yelp ads in the past, but haven't been super excited about the traffic or the return. But all of that comes back to like your tracking. And so I think my comment earlier about use a professional is like, you just want to use a company who knows how to navigate these different types of ads, and then also knows how to track the effectiveness of them, and also can tell you what effectiveness means, because as an owner, effectiveness can mean rentals. When some of these ads aren't created to drive rentals, they're created to drive impressions. And so it's just created to get your brand in front of 30,000 people at like half a cent per person. And so that's what I would just encourage. I've never worked with Thrive before. So Jess, it sounds like you could actually bring some insight to that. But I just want to impress the importance of not self-managing your ads right now. I would definitely have a consultant or hire a vendor, hire an internal individual who specializes and knows how to make it better, like how to just make your ad more efficient.
Yeah, if you're not a seasoned marketing professional, specifically with how much tech changes, algorithm changes, I mean, it's a lot to keep up with, right? So if you don't have someone internally in your infrastructure, you absolutely should be employing a third-party service to do it. that they do this all day. And that's what Thrive does. They're a digital marketing company that can do websites. They can help with SEO, content creation, placement, all those things. So,
and those paid ads, like Grace was just talking about, those are one thing, and absolutely they should be using those. But I think of the unpaid or just the impressions that you're getting is similar to what Stephen does with signs. If someone sees you pop up on someone's Instagram, or you are talked about on LinkedIn and somebody shared it, all of those non-paid impressions that still happen, they're the same thing as a sign. Somebody sees that and then they go, and I'm going to go look that up on the website. We have seen people who their biggest advertising has come because one person in a neighborhood HOA loved them and started posting their stuff all over Nextdoor, right? So this is not a paid ad. This is, you get one person who loves you and puts you on their Nextdoor, and there's 1,000 people in that particular group. Yeah. I mean, free? That's fantastic. Now, can you track all of that? Not as well, right? But your professional marketing people that Grace were talking about, they're absolutely going to have a schedule of how often your logo shows up for people on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever method they're going to be on. So all of it is in the impressions.
Yeah, and I'm going to put this comment up by Josh. He's worked with Thrive before previously. And they have a very small self-storage vertical. They're in many different industries. So I think self-storage essentially kind of was a little bit of a redheaded stepchild from a vertical perspective. They didn't have a ton of self-storage clients. So I would echo his sentiment of finding someone in the industry. Crystal's asking, can we drop some recommendation for third-party services? I know Josh has a marketing company. You could reach out to him. Christina Alvino, Fine View Marketing, the Storage Group. I just got off the phone with them earlier today. There's so many that are.
AdverRank is a new growing part.
And I can't shout those guys out enough. Yeah. We've had them, we've worked with them on our tech summit. So AdverRank, what they do, you give them your occupancy goals, and based on your occupancy goals, it's a SaaS product, so a software product. It has the intelligence built behind it based on your occupancy goals per facility, what your daily PPC spend should be. So you can literally go into this dashboard and say, Monday, I'm $5 below what I need to be to render the results for my occupancy goals. Spend the extra $5. Like, why wouldn't you? It's predictive indexing that they can do for you. So
yeah, it feels like they're a step in the direction of, like, if you're self-managing, add AdverRank to help give you some educated guidance.
Yeah,
100%. If you can't get a consultant, if you can't, but yeah, absolutely call Josh at it's Lighthouse Marketing, I believe.
Yeah. Lighthouse Marketing Solutions. Yeah.
I just put his website in the chat. So
Lighthouse is great. Let's put Fine View.
Fine View's in there. Whoever else is on here, I would just put your website on in the chat.
Yeah, please. Yeah, the chat's interactive. If you sell a service and you've got a good service. I want to do this question. We're going to go a little bit over today, guys. I'm so sorry. If you have to jump, if any of my speakers have to jump, I'm sorry. Please jump. But Travis is asking, how do you vet someone like that? Like, everyone today is an SEO expert. I agree with that comment, Travis. You see it a lot. So how do you vet someone like that?
I ask my friends. Like, just the storage friends, actually call their references, ask for case studies. And then I do bring it to trade shows, or I call, I'm a part of some marketing best practice groups for the industry. And we'll ask each other, hey, have you used this vendor? Have you tried this product? Sherry Miller's asking about TikTok. Hey, are y'all using TikTok? What kind of traffic or interest are you seeing from it? Yes, Sherry, some people, some industry, or some, I know some operators are using TikTok. We're not one of them, primarily because of our size. We can't scale TikTok content very well.
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk TikTok content, Melissa Stiles would be a great person to talk to. They hired some social media influencers to do influencer marketing for them on both Instagram and TikTok. They gave the influencer specific promo codes so they could track to make sure that the campaign did well. And the cool thing with it is it did render a ton of business type clients, which we all know a business account is going to stay way longer than a traditional tenant. So they had great success. It did produce a nice ROI. Yes, they did have to pay for it, but it wasn't like some exorbitant amount. It was definitely affordable for what they got out of it. And look, I mean, people are using Instagram Reels and stories. Again, Melissa Stiles just sent me Public Storage's Instagram the other day. The Barbie movie's coming out. It's so cute. It's literally Barbie legs that take off her shoes, and then the Barbie foot is still arched because that's and then you see these little Barbie hands throw her shoes in a Public Storage box. It's like a 10-second clip, but it is so adorable. It is so memorable, and for a common person to see that, they might go, I might go rent with Public Storage now, after seeing that. So there's so much we can talk about, and we unfortunately are out of time. I have a couple quick video segments that I want our audience to stick around and watch if you have the time. And a few announcements. We are back next week for another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked, where we're going to talk all about cost segregation and the benefits of cost segregation. I can speak for my brand. We have done cost segregation studies before and gotten those tax savings. And I'm not kidding you when I say they have literally saved us millions of dollars when we had the portfolio of, well over 100 locations. So if you don't know anything about cost segregation and you want to learn, please visit us next week at 11 a.m. We have some cost seg experts coming on to talk to you about that whole process and what that looks like. It's a great way to get some money too, to put in reserve for like CapEx projects. I mean, there's just so much you can do with it. And then our next storage for rookies, if you're a newer owner operator or you're looking to grow and scale your portfolio, is going to be on August 24th from 11 to 4. So we hope that you can join us. Thank you all so much for being here today. Again, this is probably a 2-3 hour session. So this is probably going to be a mini summit that we do here in the near future where we embellish more on this topic. But if you can stay tuned, please stay tuned with us while we play these quick video ads for you. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks for being here with us.
Absolute Storage Management is a leading provider of flexible management solutions for self-storage facilities. We manage over 150 self-storage facilities across the United States. Since 2002, Absolute Storage Management has been assembling a team of seasoned subject matter experts. From managers to marketing specialists, our dedicated team of professionals is equipped with specialized knowledge to maximize the potential of your facility. Absolute Storage Management offers a comprehensive range of services to ensure your facility operates smoothly and efficiently. From marketing and customer service to facility maintenance and security, we have you covered. Our innovative and impactful technology solutions streamline operations, making it easier for your facility to capture leads, convert them into renters, and effectively manage rent collection. Absolute is one of the few AMO accredited management companies and was one of the first management companies to service SBA financing to owners using third-party management in the storage industry. Absolute understands that your bottom line matters. Our proven strategies and industry knowledge drive profit maximization. Let our track record of success speak for itself. Partner with Absolute Storage Management and experience the difference. Our expertise, reputation, comprehensive services, and proven performance make us the ideal choice for self-storage management. Contact Absolute Storage Management today and let us take your self-storage facility to new heights. Absolute Storage Management, your trusted partner in self-storage management.
Meet Smart Route, where callers are identified instantly, whether they're leads or current customers, so you can know where the caller is at on their journey the second they ring, helping you to reduce call volume and keep only high-value calls on the line. Meet the Call Script Designer, where you can design the perfect scripts for your callers, choose from various response types, and deeply customize every element that fits your current needs. And when it's time for move-ins, manage them entirely over the phone, from costs to tenant info and payment, all the way to e-sign. Ready for follow-ups? Here you can customize workflows that are tailored directly to your ops. Take the friction out of follow-ups and convert more leads. Everything you need to succeed in one place. Get started today.
If I were you, let's say you have 5 properties and you realize, look, I can't staff enough property managers to cover all my hours and not miss opportunities I'm probably going to have in the market. I can't staff enough people to keep all of my tenants happy all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my own business development process here for my properties. I'm going to hire, 2, 3, 4 people to cover 100 plus hours a week to make sure we're there for them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to write software to be able to talk to my site management system. I'm going to record calls and do quality assurance on them. I'm going to drive my promotional special. I'm going to do all this here in my central office. If I'm you, the very first thing, once I understood the value of that concept, I would look for somebody to do it for me instead of me doing it myself, because I could never make that a profitable venture. It would never pencil. That's why this company exists. We solve that problem. We are your national sales center.
All right, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in today. We hope that you enjoyed today's session. I put in the comment section, if you ever have a topic or something that you're struggling with and you want us to do training on it, please email that into us. You can email iris@thesboa.com, or you can email me, jessica@thesboa.com as well. And for those of you that don't know, if you had to step away and take a call or answer an email, these are all recorded and we put these out on our YouTube channel. So you can always go back to the SBOA YouTube channel and reference these different recordings and trainings that we do. We have a very, very, very robust channel with tons of topics, lots of information. Please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and we have a brand new TikTok page. We have one TikTok video out there, but we are going to have plenty more coming to you because we believe in the power of social media. Hope this was helpful for all of you. Again, if you have topic suggestions, please email those into us. And I hope to see you all live with us next week for cost segregation services and the benefits that provides to you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have an awesome weekend, and we will see you back next week. Take care, everyone.